One of the most difficult parts of ending a relationship with an abusive narcissist is knowing when to give up. And after we've made this really difficult decision, this can be made even more difficult when the narcissist finally comes back and says all the things we've been waiting to hear. In this video, I want to address the question of how do you know if the narcissist is lying when they finally promise to change? Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. I'm going to begin this video by stating the obvious. If somebody's been abusive towards you and has treated you like garbage, and then they promise to change after you say that you've had enough and you're trying to leave, you shouldn't trust that person, right? Of course, they're going to promise to change if they are interested in regaining control of you, which is very common for an abusive person. They are willing to say or do almost anything to regain control. So of course you can't trust what they're saying. And also we all know that the odds of an abusive person changing are so slim, it's just not worth taking the chance. But I want to acknowledge, and from my own experience, I know that this really isn't that helpful a lot of the time. I mean, it can help us rationally understand our situation, but when we're trying to escape from and recover from an abusive relationship, it's just not that simple. It's really difficult to let go of these tiny little shreds of hope because of how upside down our whole world is and how much pain we're in and how desperately we are willing to believe almost anything to not have to go through all of the really difficult things that we may have to go through in order to be free of this relationship. The least of which is the enormous heartbreak that we might be going through. So it's not that simple. I mean, we might know logically that the odds of an abusive narcissist changing their ways is like 0.0001%, but most of us know that there is that tiny little chance. And you know, when people tell you that that there's no chance and that you should never believe anything they're saying, I mean, are these the same people that play the lottery? Millions of people play the lottery and they know that they're never going to win, right? But there's that tiny little sliver of a chance of what if I do? And I think that's a good way for people that don't understand abuse maybe to understand why abuse victims are so willing to give an abuser another chance, because there is a tiny little chance that maybe they really will change. And that's what I want to give empathy and validation for in today's video. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you if you really desperately want to believe what this abusive person is telling you. Ending an abusive relationship can be extremely difficult. It isn't just the devastating heartbreak that we have to recover from. Some of us are traumatized by things that have happened during the relationship. And I have multiple times in my life wondered if I'm going to have a place to live after all this is said and done. There are real world consequences to ending an abusive relationship, and some of them can be things that we never recover from. This isn't easy. This isn't anything that anyone wants to go through. So of course, many of us, we're already emotionally vulnerable. We're already in pain. Many of us are afraid of the future, the uncertainty of what we're going to have to face. And we're not asking the world of this person that's abused us. We're just asking that they stop lying and stop being so mean and stop flying off the handle. We're just asking them to just be a half decent person so that we don't have to go through all of this uncertainty and pain and turmoil and all this. So of course it's really difficult for somebody going through this to just walk away from somebody that's abused them when that abuser finally starts saying things that suggest that maybe this problem can just go away. Maybe I don't have to go through all these horrible things that I'm facing. maybe we can just go back to the way things were and I don't have to face this nightmare. Of course, it's really, really tempting because that's what we so desperately want to believe. So if this is your situation, let's talk about the reasons or the signs that you can look out for to help you determine whether or not this is something you should walk away from. The first thing I want to talk about is, what has this person actually said to you? When we're in this emotionally vulnerable state and this person that has caused us so much pain and confusion, this person that has probably gaslighted us and invalidated us and ignored us, talked over us, when this person is finally saying anything, even remotely validating, we can tend to hear a lot of things that aren't actually being said. And the narcissist knows this, and a skilled manipulator will take advantage of this. So let's say the narcissist says something to you like, I'm really sorry that things have gotten so terrible. I just wish that we could go back to the way things were. And I have actually heard words very similar to this. You, in this emotionally vulnerable state, in all this pain and fear, you're probably going to hear things that aren't actually being said. You're probably going to feel a lot of relief, like, okay, this person's finally willing to be reasonable, to acknowledge that there are problems we need to work on, and they want to go back to the way things were before. Oh, so do I. Maybe there's hope after all. And you may ask yourself, is this a sign of real change? Is this a reason for me to give this person another chance? So just stop and ask yourself, wait, what has this person actually said? If the narcissist says something like, I'm sorry that things have gotten so bad, that person isn't admitting to anything. They aren't acknowledging anything. They aren't even acknowledging that they have done anything wrong. They're just saying that things have gotten really bad and that they want things to go back to the way that they were. They're not expressing any willingness to do anything specific. They aren't even acknowledging that they've done anything wrong. So they aren't promising to change with this statement, even though you may hear a promise to change in this statement because you so desperately want to hear a promise to change. So they know this. A skilled manipulator is doing this on purpose. They're saying just enough to make you think that there's actually enough hope in this relationship to give control back over to them. So stop and ask yourself, what has this person actually said? Have they actually acknowledged anything specific that they have done to hurt me? Have they actually specifically admitted to anything? Have they made specific promises? Have they actually told me specifically what they intend to do to make things better? Or have they just made some vague statement about how they wish things could go back the way they were? So what if the narcissist has been specific? What if they have admitted specifically to things they've done? Some of them will do this, especially if they think that it's necessary. Narcissists normally won't admit to anything that they don't feel like they have to. They'll give you the bare minimum, or they'll give you as little as they think they have to in order to regain control of you. But sometimes they acknowledge or they believe that they have to admit to specific things in order to regain control. And so they will. They'll admit to specific things, or they might even promise specific things. So let's talk now about the way that these apologies or promises to change are making you feel. When a narcissist promises to change or apologizes for something, if this is the type of apology or promise that is typical and that is purely manipulation, it will feel a certain way. It will feel like you're still pulling teeth a little bit. So they might promise something, and this is kind of hard to explain, but it's like they're promising something, but they're still putting the burden on you. They're putting the responsibility on you. So maybe they say, okay, I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to get help. I'm going to do what I have to do to change for us, right? I mean, if they really mean that, there shouldn't be pressure on you. You shouldn't feel like there's conditions on you. When narcissists make these types of promises, it feels like an ultimatum from them. Like, okay, I'll go to therapy, but this is because I expect something from you. So if they promise to go to therapy, or they promise to get a job, or they promise to do whatever it is that you need them to do, even if they get specific with the promise, it feels like an ultimatum. It feels like you're still the bad guy. You're still responsible for holding this relationship together. So it's like, okay, I'll do this thing that you're making me do. I'll do this thing that I have to do in order to hold this relationship together because you need me to do this thing so much. So if I go to therapy, or if I get a job or whatever, you better take me back. There's just this underlying feeling of this, right? Even if they're not saying it out loud, there's this pressure on you that they're doing this thing for you because you need them to do this thing. And look at me now. I gave you the password to my phone. Here, take a look through my phone all you want. Or I went out and got a job. I have a job now. What do you want? Or I went to therapy. I've been going to therapy for 2 months. Isn't that what you wanted? Like, you owe it to me to take me back now because I did this thing you wanted. These narcissistic, manipulative apologies or promises to change are not done with the full acknowledgement that you're the one who's been hurt here. You're the one giving the ultimatum. You're the abuse victim. They are the one who has actively destroyed this relationship. It is completely their responsibility to change these habits they have that just destroy everyone around them, destroy their relationships, and have caused you so much damage. But a narcissist who is just trying to regain control will make you feel like you're doing something wrong by demanding these changes. And then they will put pressure on you. Like, okay, I did this thing. Now you have to take me back. Now, I did this thing you wanted. And if you don't give me another chance, then you're the bad guy because you owe it to me now because I finally did this thing you wanted. That is never, ever, 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 ever going to result in real change. That is typical of how narcissists who do promise to change, and I guess I should say, not all of them do. Many narcissists will refuse to ever apologize or acknowledge in any way that they've ever done anything wrong. But for a narcissist who does go through any motions of promising to change or show any signs of change or acknowledging what they've done, if they have truly changed, if they truly want to change, they're not going to put pressure on you to accept their token of change or whatever little thing they've done to prove themselves to you. They're not going to use it as an ultimatum, and they're not going to have it be dependent on you accepting it. When you are in a relationship with an abusive narcissist, there is this constant feeling that you might not even be aware of, that you are holding the relationship together. You are going through so much effort to keep the peace, to make this person happy. And there's this feeling that if you stopped trying, if you let go, everything would fall apart. And I know that, at least for me, apart from maybe some very short glimpses or flashes of reality or clarity, I largely wasn't aware of or conscious of how backwards this was and how things did not apply to the other person the way they did to me. So I might feel like I have to try really hard. I have to be nice. I have to put up with being treated like crap. I have to keep my mouth shut when things are bothering me. I have to try. But this other person, they don't have to try. They can treat me like garbage. They can forget things. They can misunderstand things. They can criticize me all they want. They don't have to do anything, but I'm going to stick around. I'm going to keep trying to hold things together. I'm going to stay loyal to them, right? People that have been in this situation, at least speaking for myself, like, we don't even realize how backwards this is. And this is part, I think, of when we have to do our own work after recovering from an abusive relationship. We have to do our own work in identifying this and learning to see that we did deserve so much more, and that it's not our responsibility to hold the entire relationship together by ourselves while the other person does absolutely nothing. This feeling of holding the relationship together, of everything being dependent on us, doesn't go away when the narcissist starts promising to change or starts doing things to show that they've really changed, because things haven't changed. So you will still feel like it's all up to you. You will still feel like now you have to accept this change and believe in it and take this person back and give this person back all the privileges they had before if you want things to work out and if you want this change to be real. So this person is promising to make these changes, but they're putting the responsibility on you still, because a narcissist, really, that is how they view everything. They really do believe that it's all your fault. Even if they recognize that they've treated you badly and that they've been abusive and lied to you and betrayed you and all these things, in their mind, they have twisted it around to convince themselves that the horrible ways they've treated you are still your fault. You still deserved it somehow. And it doesn't matter how they have twisted this up in their head, because that's their starting point. They know that it has to be your fault somehow. And then they come up with the justification or the reasoning, because they can't accept responsibility for their own problems and their own horrible behavior. Somehow they just know it's your fault. It has to be your fault, right? Because it can't possibly be my fault. You have to be the one that made me act so terribly. It has to be your fault somehow that I cheated on you, or it has to be your fault somehow that I lied to you and I treated you like garbage. And so this doesn't go away when they finally realize that they have to somehow give you something. They have to somehow pretend that they're willing to change. This just creates more resentment within them. So if they agree to finally go to therapy, or they agree to finally let you have full access to their passwords, their phone, or they agree to finally go get a job, they don't feel like they should have to do any of that stuff. They feel like you're being unreasonable because all of the horrible things they did was all your fault somehow anyway, right? You're the one who should change, even though they'll never be able to give you a concrete specific reason that it's your fault, or give you a concrete specific thing about yourself that you should change, because, the reason they can't give you a concrete specific example of what you've done wrong is because there is no actual reason that it's your fault, because it's not your fault. But they can't accept that, and that's why they will just keep going around in all these circles. And so in these scenarios where they have been pushed so far that they feel like they have to show you some sort of change, some sort of accountability in order to regain control of you, they feel like they're being wronged and that you owe it to them to give them another chance, to take them back, because you never had the right to take that away from them in the first place. And you're going to feel this. You're going to hear them say things maybe like, I said I was sorry. How many times do I need to apologize? Or I went to therapy. What does it take? How much is it going to take for you to believe me? What do I have to do? And they're going to make themselves the victim. Again, remember, you're the one who's been hurt here. You're the one who is the abuse victim. But they're going to make you out to be the bad guy. Why won't you forgive me? What's wrong with you? Look at everything I've tried to do now, as if you owe it to them, because they really feel that you do. So this is not a sign of real change. You can feel that this is a power struggle. Real change isn't going to feel like an ultimatum. Real change isn't going to put pressure on you. Real change isn't going to make you feel guilty for not giving them another chance, or for not being sure whether or not they really mean what they're saying. A narcissist that's truly willing to change, that's truly acknowledging all the things they've done wrong, is going to understand that it's perfectly reasonable for you to want to protect yourself. They're going to respect your boundaries and understand that you have the right to decide that you're done with them and that there are no more chances, because they will have acknowledged the truth of what they've done. True change doesn't come from a power struggle. True change doesn't come from a back and forth where one person's trying to find leverage over the other. A narcissist who really wants to change, who's really sorry, isn't going to be showing you resentment. A narcissist who believes that you owe it to them to take them back and that you should have never drawn this line in the first place is going to resent you and is going to deeply resent the things that you're asking them to do. And that's going to come through. I mean, it's really hard for them to hide that. So true change isn't going to come with resentment. True change also isn't going to come with this feeling of urgency. Narcissists will make you feel like this is urgent. You need to give them another chance right now. They can't wait till next week or next month or next year. Somebody who truly understands the damage they've done, truly understands how hard it is to trust them again, or how terrible their behavior's been, will understand that maybe you need a year or two of consistent improved behavior before you can trust them again. They'll understand that. They won't try to put pressure on you to hurry up and take them back. But that's very common for a narcissist who's just trying to regain control. They will make you feel like there's a time limit here. You've got to make a decision now or else they're going to be gone forever. And as I've mentioned a few times in this video already, true change is specific. It isn't vague. A narcissist that is just trying to regain control will try to make things as vague as possible. So a narcissist that really wants to change is going to be very specific about what they're doing, what the timeline is, specific about what they're sorry for, and they're going to be specific about things that are actually the real problem. So maybe a narcissist says something like, "I'll never take you for granted again." And this can feel so good. It can feel like such a relief to hear this person who's normally just been mean to you and impatient and entitled and defensive. It can really feel so amazing to hear them say something like this that we don't even think about what they're saying. So in this example, if a narcissist says, "I'll never take you for granted again," this can feel so wonderful to hear this that we don't think about, well, wait, I never complained about them taking me for granted. Like, why are they even saying that? When if you really step back and, as I said earlier, think about, what is this person actually saying? What does this actually mean? Maybe in this example, you were with a narcissist that never listened to anything you said. Maybe the narcissist just completely ignored you, talked over you, responded to things that you didn't say, would mishear you, misunderstand you, and that's your complaint. That's your problem, is they never listen to anything you say. And now they're saying, "I'll never take you for granted again." And you're in such emotional pain and fear and turmoil that all you hear is something positive, and that floods you with so much hope that you're not even thinking about the fact that this wasn't even a problem for you. You didn't feel like they were taking you for granted. You felt like they weren't listening, but you're just so grateful and relieved to hear anything that sounds even remotely positive that you don't stop to think about what they're actually saying and how meaningless it actually is. So when you're trying to decide whether or not this abusive person really intends to change, or whether or not there's really any hope that they're telling the truth, or that they are even capable of changing, don't forget the most important thing to remember is that real change, especially for somebody with such deep emotional problems as an abuser, is done for one's self. An abusive narcissist that actually decides that they need to change, and these people do exist. As rare as they are, they do exist. But for an abusive narcissist who actually decides they need to change, they are doing it for themselves. This isn't conditional on whether or not you accept it. So an abusive narcissist that truly understands that they need to change is going to go to therapy on their own, or whatever it is they need to do to start working on themselves. And they aren't going to make you feel like if you don't accept it, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then they're not going to bother with any of this anymore. Because if they really intend to truly change, they're going to be doing it for themselves, and it won't matter how you react. And this can apply to anything. You can look at this as very similar to maybe somebody who's overcoming an addiction, or maybe somebody who needs to lose weight, or and somebody that just needs to overcome bad habits in their life. You can't really make these deep, important changes in your life if you're doing it purely for somebody else. And being an abusive person is no different. Making these very difficult changes is something that has to come from within ourselves. And while you as an abuse victim may have work to do for yourself, you have no work, zero work to do for the abuser. The abuser is responsible 100% for their abusive habits. And you should not feel like you're still holding the pieces of this relationship together. You should not feel that it's up to you to accept or support them. Otherwise, it'll all fall apart. Otherwise, they won't change. That it's up to you. That will never, ever, ever result in real change. If somebody really, truly intends to change themselves and to create better habits, they will do it with or without you. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.